Hey everyone, so I've decided to kind of start this new segment to my channel. It's more of a life do-it-yourself or a life how-to rather than a craft how-to. So this is kind of gonna complement what I already do with the life side of it rather than just the crafting side. So I am sitting outside on a beautiful Michigan day. That's why I'm out here. They won't always be out here, but for right now they are. I'm gonna call these the Megan Monologues. So it's gonna be a little bit of talking about different aspects of life, or maybe you could ask a question and I can answer it and that kind of thing. So it's only gonna be maybe like once or twice a month. It's not gonna be a weekly thing. Just whenever I feel like doing one. So the first one today is gonna be a little heavier than most. It's something that I've been dealing with for the past, I guess, like more on the upfront rather than in the back of my head for the past like 4-ish months. Basically, it's just gonna be about dealing with anxiety. And I wanted to do this because I don't want sympathy from anybody, but like I have this platform where I have almost 1,000 followers and people still watch, even more people than just those 1,000 watch my videos. So I feel like people deal with this on a daily basis. A lot of people do, and they don't feel like they can talk about it. So I wanted to put this out there because I want people to feel like they can talk about it and not to be upset or feel like there's something wrong with them or be afraid of it. The crazy thing about all this is that more people suffer with anxiety and mental disorders than we think. And I don't, and this is what I always say, is I don't want people to go through this, but it's nice knowing that there's other people out there and that you're not alone. And that's the biggest key to all this, is that this isn't a flaw in yourself, and don't think of it ever that way. This is just a hardship and something that you'll have to work through. And you can do it. You can definitely do it. I'm gonna give a little bit of my backstory, I guess, and then kind of not tell you, but just offer some advice. And we'll just kind of go from there and see where it goes. I'm gonna wing it, so this could totally go off track at any point in time, but hopefully it won't. I feel like anxiety is something I've kind of dealt with my whole entire life. It just never really has been that apparent. Growing up, I always felt like I had to be the best at everything, get the best grades, make sure I wasn't failing at school, do well in all my sports. I remember in classes, I would be the very last person to finish an exam because I would be second guessing myself and third guessing myself and fourth, like 10th guessing myself by the end of the day. So my teachers would let me stay over, and I would probably stay like an extra hour sometimes, just because I'd reread questions and just make sure that they were right, and it would kind of worry me if they weren't. I would overstudy for exams because I just wanted to make sure I was going to do well. And the thing about me is, like, my grades were never that bad, but I think I put myself in a position to worry way more than I needed to. And as I went on, like in college, I guess I kind of let go a little bit, but still I was worried. I kind of, my freshman year, put myself in a hole, and that's when I started to freak out and panic. There's just a lot of things that I guess growing up that I guess were in the back of my head that I didn't notice were signs of this. You know, so I don't think I had it as bad as I was growing up. I mean, I'm 27 now, so it took me to almost being 27 to finally realize how bad I actually was. I mean, I went to the doctor and they said sometimes like the coping mechanisms you had as a kid or growing up aren't as effective anymore as you get older. And like things have changed, obviously. I'm out of school, I'm working, I own a house that I have to pay for, all that kind of stuff. So I guess where it really started to become apparent was about 4 months ago, so about February, mid-February, so 3.5 months. I kind of had a trigger, and I'm not going to go into details of what it was, but it was just everything just kind of started to build up. And even a couple weeks before that, I was getting headaches, which I didn't know where they were coming from. I felt like I was very stressed out for just no reason. I had people asking me like, what are you stressed out about? And I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't even think of what was wrong or what was stressing me out. So that's the thing with anxiety, is there are side effects to it. And you know, sometimes they are physical like that. You feel physically sick, or you feel like, you know, you can't eat, or you lose your appetite, or you overeat or something. There are different ways that are different side effects that come from anxiety. And a few weeks before this trigger, I noticed things were weird, and I wasn't myself, and I was feeling unhappy, and I felt like there was just things that needed to be done, but I just didn't know what to do about it. So when everything just kind of happened and kind of fell apart, it's when I really realized how bad it was. I was having really bad heart palpitations, so my heart was racing almost every single day, no matter like what I was doing. I could just be sitting here like this outside, and my heart, like my brother, he put a Apple Watch on me, and I think I was at 97 beats per minute, and it was just like that all day, constantly, and I felt like my heart was gonna explode. I couldn't sleep. I would wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning in cold sweats, and I couldn't get comfortable, and I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep. I just had a lot of things going on in my head, and I didn't know how to deal with them. So it got to the point where I thought if this continued that I was going to basically give myself a heart attack, and I really didn't want to do that. So the nice thing about where I work is we have people that we can call and talk to, and that was the scariest thing I think I've ever done. And I just want to tell you guys, don't be scared to talk to people. Even if it's just like a friend or a family member or something, like get it out. Because if you hold it in, and I think that's what kind of triggered it too, is if you hold it in, it's eventually going to come out, and it's not going to be how you want it to be. And there's really no like way that you really want it to be anyway, but you don't want it to be a negative way of dealing with it either. Basically, I was super scared to call this person. I was afraid I was going to be judged. I was afraid like they were going to be like, oh my gosh, you're a horrible human being. Like, how could you have done the things that you did and all that kind of stuff, and said the things that you did. And when I called, when I finally talked myself into calling, I was texting one of my friends about it, and he was like, just do it. So I finally called, and I just broke down and just started crying. And it just made me feel so much better. And so I got into counseling, and I've been doing that once a week since mid-February. And so it's been incredibly helpful. It's nice, and sometimes it comes at just the right time. There are some weeks where like I don't feel like I have a whole lot to talk about, but then there are some weeks where I feel like I talk her ear off. So I've been doing that every week, and the hard part that came with it is that a lot of the times it's not just anxiety. What came with mine is depression as well. And it's not uncommon for that to happen. It was kind of sucky. There were days where I did not want to get out of bed. And even though I'd wake up in the middle of the night, in the morning, I would just be like, I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like leaving this house. I don't feel like getting out of bed. It also doesn't help that Michigan gets really cold and really dark in the winter. But I quit eating. I lost my appetite. My friends were forcing me to eat food. I would go a day or two without eating just because I wasn't hungry, and I didn't even realize it. And everything kind of morphed into one big thing. And I just want to let you guys know too that if you're going through something like this, it feels like it'll never get better, but it does. And I know at one point I was sitting there and I'm like, I've never felt this horrible in my entire life. And you don't think that it will get better, and you think that it's like the worst thing that'll ever happen, and you just have to hang in there, and eventually it will. And it took until probably, like I said, that was mid-February. It probably took until like a month ago for me to finally feel like myself again. It's a hard thing to do. I mean, like even doing this YouTube channel, and I post once a week, and I had to like talk myself into making videos, and I love doing this. And it was exhausting. One thing I read everywhere, as soon as I found out I had anxiety, I just started looking up everything I could about it. I just wanted to be so educated about it. And one thing I kept reading was, it's okay to not be okay. Society puts like a mask on it and says like, you know what? Everyone should be normal. Everyone should be one way. No one should deal with this. Nobody deals with this. And people they get scared to admit that they have these issues or that there's something wrong. And even as I've been going to counseling, I'm still learning a lot of stuff about myself that I didn't realize kind of contributed to it. Like one of the things being, I have to be in control of situations, and if I'm not in control of a situation, I just, it freaks me out, makes me really anxious, and I'm starting to kind of learn to let things play out themselves, and it's kind of freeing. I know it's hard to do, but it's nice to not have to worry about things sometimes and to not control every situation and see what happens. I let little things bother me is another thing, and that's one thing I'm trying to work on as well. Because if you let little things bother you, like don't sweat the small stuff, and I know it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. If you let little things bother you, you will drive yourself crazy. And that's the thing, is I was driving myself nuts. Like little things, I'd be like, oh crap, like I forgot to do this or whatever, and I would just sit there and I'd think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it until it would drive me nuts. And that's just something you can't do. You can't live a life like that. As much as I didn't want that to happen, or the trigger to happen to put me in the position that I was in, I don't think I ever would have learned this much about myself if it didn't happen. And I'm not saying I want every person to go through what I did, because I do not. I would never wish this upon my worst enemy, the things that I went through. But sometimes it takes something like that to realize the things that you need to fix or the things you need to work on within yourself. And the main reason I wanted to do this video is if there's someone out there that feels like there's something not right. Like I don't want you to go through this, and if you have, just know that it's not gonna be this way forever. I mean, there's no cure for this. There's no like easy fix where, hey, now everything's gonna be perfect and you're not gonna worry about anything and life's gonna be awesome, because there's not. And the thing is, things are gonna get worse before they get better. And when I thought I hit my rock bottom, I hadn't. And I took another step down, but it's been gradually getting better since. So after all that, what I want to end this video with is, if you need any help or have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below or send me a message. I think my email's in my About Me section. Send me an email. I'd be happy to help you or talk you through anything. I mean, this is still relatively fresh for me too. So I mean, we can work through this together, and I can give you whatever advice I can from what I've learned from this. So thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I'm gonna try and make something like this a once a month thing at least. So if you not even enjoyed this video, because that's how I usually end it, if you just feel like this is something you'd like to follow, or my channel is something you'd like to follow, feel free to subscribe. Comment below, let me know your thoughts, and thank you so much for watching.